the sentencing process. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so what will happen is that Donald Trump will have to report to probation, and probation will prepare what's called a pre-sentencing report, where they take certain information, and this is something they do in every case before sentencing, certain information about him, including whether or not he expresses remorse, because that is something that is normally taken into consideration for sentencing. When Judge Merchan actually sentences any defendant, he takes many factors into consideration. If you removed the name Donald Trump from his consideration, and it was somebody who came before him for sentence that also had 3 open other felony indictments in 3 other jurisdictions in both state and federal court, he's somebody who has been convicted of 34 felony counts, was held in contempt 10 times for disobeying Judge Merchan's orders, he would absolutely fall within that 10 to 30% who would be sentenced to prison. But because his name is Donald Trump, who knows what will happen, but those are the exact factors that any judge in New York State would take into consideration. And those are the people who are convicted of felonies that would go to prison. Now he could, there's a wide range of options. He could get up to 4 years. He could also do weekends in jail. That's as an option if Judge Merchan wanted to do that, where you literally report to jail for weekends. He could do probation. He could do community service where he has to pick up trash on the subways. So
could he do home arrest?
He could do home arrest. Every option is on the table with a Class E felony like this. But I wanted to just put a perspective for people of what any other defendant, because I worked in the DA's office for about 30 years. I've seen hundreds of thousands of cases and sentences. And those are the factors that would have gone into that equation, and absolutely without a doubt any other defendant who was similarly situated to Donald Trump, who is not going to show remorse and who I am sure will push the bounds of the still remaining gag order after this. We'll see what happens, but anyone else in that position would get prison.
Jamie Gangel, before the trial began, you spoke with Michael Cohen, the defense witness, the number one witness the prosecution witness, the number one witness for the prosecution, about whom much has been said about his credibility, and that certainly at times during the trial appeared to be potentially undermining. Obviously, it was not. What did he say before the trial, and how did it work out?
So we don't know what the jury took into account yet, and we may never know because they may not speak to us. But what Michael Cohen said, this was about 24 hours before, is he said there are going to be all of these other witnesses. And in fact, there were 19 other witnesses. And he saw his job as being the narrator, and that his job was to connect the dots, but that we would, forgive me, this is not working, that we would see all of the documents, the evidence, those Alan Weisselberg hand-scribbled notes, but he said to me over and over again, you're not going to have to rely on me. You're going to be able to rely on this other evidence.
We know sentencing date is coming. We know an appeal is coming. We know they'll make a motion for a new trial. We know all of those things are still ahead.
Definitely so. So I think, what's ahead for everyone and for Stormy Daniels, her family. The next big step in the process is July 11th. So it's the sentencing hearing. I do anticipate that the district attorney will ask for some sentence of incarceration. And I do think that there's a good likelihood that the judge will impose some sentence of incarceration.
All right, pause on that for one moment. Can I just ask you, to the point that Paula just made,
Yeah.
Do you think that sentencing will get delayed till after the Republican National Convention?
I think the sentencing will probably happen according to the speed that the trial process should happen.
So July 11th.
Yeah, many of these judges in all of these cases against Trump have said, look, we're going to respect the criminal justice process. We're not going to go according to the political calendar.
But then they would delay the sentence until after.
Yes, I think he will not be.
He's not going to be remanded to prison.
100%. He will not be remanded to prison until he exhausts his appeals.
Mark O'Mara, what do you think about that? Do you think that jail time, prison is a real possibility here from Judge Merchan?
I think it's a possibility. I do not see this judge, even with what he's gone through personally at Trump's sort of focus. I don't think he's going to put him in jail. I really don't. I think the convictions themselves will be enough punishment in this judge's eyes for this defendant. And I do think the defense is going to do everything that they can to July 11th, to deny the imposition of sentence, which I do expect will not happen until all of the appeals are finalized. So even if he was given a sentence on July 11th, they will stay that until the appellate process is done. So he will not, I think, see a sentence until well into 25.
Right. So that would assume he loses the. I mean, this continues, right? That Norm, to this point, do you agree with that timeline? Right. That you're not going to get an ultimate appeals ending verdict until post the election.
I strongly agree with that timeline. I strongly disagree. As Ryan knows, we spent countless hours. He edited me, putting me to the task. Aaron, he made me look at 10,000 New York falsifying business records cases. And here's what I discovered.
And that is why he is who he is.
We love him.
That's right.
And here's what I discovered.
Yes.
That in the most serious FBR cases, a sentence of imprisonment is routinely imposed. This is the most serious falsifying business records case in the history of the state of New York. I think Alvin Bragg is going to ask for a sentence of incarceration, and I think Judge Merchan will very seriously weigh that.
So the special treatment, you're saying, would be if he were not given a prison sentence.
Right. And I think Judge Merchan will look at the case. We've debated this for years. Alvin Bragg put on an election interference case. I noted the words of Trump's team that this is an election interference case. Exactly. That's what 12 Americans just found, that Donald Trump engaged in a conspiracy to interfere with the 2016 election and covered it up. That's how you get a felony, the underlying conspiracy. That is as serious a crime, tampering with American democracy, as you can have. And the judge knows that. So I think serious risk of jail sentence, not serving.